This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, we are live. And this is show number 116th live shows in a row, season 4, show number 44. And so, yes, we will get the number 52 again to be 2 years in a row. We need to keep that streak going. And I've been looking forward to this show because obviously we're streaming live on Talk4 Media, K4HD Radio, Talk4 TV, streaming on over 100 platforms around the world as usual, and streaming on I2247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, Worldwide TV Network, and WomenOnTV.tv. So now that I got all of that out the way, we got Chef Rachel Roberts from Houston, Texas. We got the dapper Howard Wiggins from Brentwood, Tennessee. And we got Jeremy. I just say Jeremy because I like to have Jeremy just introduce himself. And then we've got Brian Rossfeld. And the fun thing about that, we get to talk about the Lennon bus, which is very, very important. So honored to have gone on that bus and had a great time with that. And then we got my knucklehead friend, the one and only Ivor Davis, coming back from, he's known as the cocky guy, cocky kid, coming back from Liverpool from this 60th anniversary of this reunion tour that he got dragged on in 1964 unwillingly. Who knew he was going to be friends with all these guys so many years later? I'm talking about Paul, I'm talking about Ringo, and all the other Beatles. So with that, we got co-founder, executive director of the John Lennon Educational Tour Bus, which is very, very special to me now because I want to do something with them in the future. I really love what they're doing. I love the fact that, you started this, Brian, with Yoko Ono and Lennon, and this has been, I think it's your 27th or 28th year that you've had this bus. And there's still a lot of people that don't know about it. But I love what you did this year so far, going to Compton, which you'll talk about later, and doing something with kids there at Sentimental Dominguez School, high school. I love what you did about that. We're going to talk about that song. But he's been on ABC. He's been on Good Morning America. He's been on a bunch of things, BBC, you name it. He's been on and just talking about this great bus because it's all about education. It's about music. It's about songwriters and everything like that. And so when you have these things like that, you can't go wrong because this is where I actually met my friend. I never knew that we did interviews for all of these years. I never knew he went on the tour with Beatles. I never knew he wrote a book on Charles Manson. I never knew he was shot at, at the Watts riots. I never knew he was there at the Robert Kennedy assassination. We just did interviews together. That's all I knew. And then I went to NAMM. I think it was 2015, and I ran into my friend Ivor. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He goes, I'm here with this, the Beatles bus, the John Lennon tour bus, the John Lennon educational tour bus. I go, "Where's that?" He goes, "Over there." And I see this big bus. I'm like, "Oh, that's a cool bus." I never knew about that. And then that's how everything started to connect. And I love that because I wanted to surprise each other. Good thing they all get along, but I wanted to surprise each other because you just never know these days. And with that, we got Vocally Tash out of Miami, Florida. And Brian, I want to introduce you to her because I want her to go on that bus and sing some reggaeton music.
Oh yeah,
we'll be on that. So Jeremy, I got to start off with you. You get the first question. Go for it, and introduce yourself too.
Okay. Well, my name is Jeremy Van Wert. I am the host of the Mindful Mutiny podcast. I'm a psychedelics expert. And I'm a coach for people who have high-functioning ADHD. And I've got a pot pie in the oven upstairs, and I'm really excited about it.
No.
So, Ivor, I actually have a question for you. And, you've done all of this incredible stuff in your life. You have been at the scene of things that have changed humanity and civilization. The Beatles, the assassination of RFK, the Watts riots. You were in the front row when a university was integrated, and you've written about Charles Manson, all of these incredible things. And so, right now we're in a space in our society that is changing. Lots of things are changing, and a lot of that energy from the 60s is kind of here in terms of a societal shift. And a lot of people are feeling a little bit hopeless. When you have seen all of this in your life and you're looking at what the future brings based upon your experience, how do you view humanity, and how do you see this struggle that we're kind of in now versus, what you've already seen in the past?
Thank you. Well, the interesting thing is, in the 60s, if you look back, all hell was breaking loose. There was the Watts riots, there was the Kennedy assassination, Martin Luther King. All these key people were being killed. And I must say, talking to me in the year 2024, I'm a little bit depressed. I think maybe we all are with the state of the world. And I know we don't want to talk about politics and all the rest of it, and I won't go into detail, but it's a bit depressing. And also don't forget, back in the 60s, we didn't have a thing called the internet. I mean, we didn't have iPhone cameras. We didn't have communication where if Brian burps in LA, you hear about it in Canada 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But and the answer to the question is, you just roll with the punches. And what happened to me was pure fluke. I was at the right place at the right time, and I'm sure all of you, if I asked you what was the successful rung or the successful point in your life, you would say, did you plan it? Of course I didn't. It was a thing called serendipity. You're there, you do it, you take it, and off you go.
And when you go off, you go. Tell the audience how you came up with this concept for creating this bus, being around for all of these years. Again, when I was last at NAMM, when Ivor was there, that's when I met him in front of the bus, and I had no idea. I could have met you there, and I was running to another interview, and I'm like, I got to go back, and then I couldn't find anybody. So I think back to this year, I'm like, wow, I'm so honored that Joanne put us together, and I got a chance to go on this bus, because this bus is phenomenal. You've got Apple as a sponsor. You got Dolby there. You got some of the state of the art, and everybody is recorded on this bus.
That is correct, and I never could have dreamed that this is where it would have gone to. It really started as a very short-term promotion for the John Lennon Songwriting Contest, which we started first, and is still running. We're an international songwriting contest and have been responsible for discovering all kinds of amazing talent. And as I was getting that up on its feet, I had the thought to create a mobile recording studio that would promote that contest. And so that very first day, it was on Good Morning America with Wyclef Jean from the Fugees and the singer Joan Osborne. And almost as a last minute thought, put some students from New York City Public Schools on board with them. And in the course of the 2-hour show, they wrote an original song and then did the big reveal, in the last 5 minutes of the show. And this was really before reality TV. So we got a lot of super positive responses from many, many people, artists, but also the mayor of Boston and the city of Los Angeles, and lots of educators who were fascinated by what this was and what it could be. And so what originally was meant to just be out for the spring of 1997, it became my life's work. I became obsessed with keeping it alive. And really, it's been made possible by the generosity and the support of many sponsors, some of whom you just mentioned, some private donations, and of course, Yoko's immediate belief in the project. She immediately saw the value of it. And I could go on and on. I have a zillion stories about it and about her, which are, all good because her heart has been into this since the day that she first heard about it.
Can I just jump in? I know it's not my turn and I've talked already. I want to tell you how magnificent the bus is. Brian Rothschild, they came to our town and they made a dream come true for these underprivileged kids who were learning to play musical instruments. And not only that, but Lawrence Juba of Wings came along. I don't know if you remember that, Brian, and did a documentary of these young men. And we played it at the New West Symphony concert so that people could see what the bus was doing. So Brian Rothschild, kudos.
I appreciate that, Ivor.
Awesome.
I think you haven't asked me this question, but I think I should probably just give you the quick overview of what it is, right? So it's a nonprofit mobile recording studio that is dedicated to providing young people with free hands-on opportunities to create. And as technology has evolved, the Lennon buses have evolved so that right now we're featuring the latest Dolby Atmos mix studio and the latest gear from Apple and Taylor Guitars and Audio Technica, and so many of all of the gear that's on board is sponsored. It's provided by the companies, and when new things come out, they swap out the older gear for the newest gear, so that we're always showing young people the finest that the industry has to offer. It goes to high schools, it goes to colleges and universities, it goes to community centers. We have done a lot of festivals over the years, and as Ivor just mentioned, we've had a lot of really wonderful artists who have worked and mentored the students. So,
Beautiful.
Stevie Wonder was on recently. We're day after tomorrow. Verdine White from Earth, Wind and Fire will be joining us in LA. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So it's an incredible state-of-the-art mobile studio. And there's also another one in Europe. Lennon Bus Europe started in 2013.
Nice.
Talk about having Apple and Dolby. How important is that?
Well, I'll start with the Apple connection. I mean, Apple's been a sponsor now for, I think, 20 years. Most people know that Steve Jobs was a huge Beatles fan and a big John Lennon fan, for all kinds of reasons. So I had been trying to get Apple on board for a few years. Our obviously technology has evolved dramatically since back then, but we just constantly back in the early days had problems and glitches with computers. Things would just stop short all the time. So anyway, I always wanted to get them on. I knew the values would be in line. And when Steve really heard about it, he agreed to become a partner and a sponsor, and we've had the Apple logo on the bus, ever since. So, at this point, like I mentioned, as their technology has evolved, we've been able to pull all that equipment onto the bus, and it's constantly being updated. Dolby's been involved. They're a newer sponsor. We brought them in about a year and a half ago. And I should also say, we went through some tough times, like so many did during COVID, right? We had to come off the road. We couldn't go to schools. Schools weren't operating. We were a live experience. So there it is.
Oh, okay.
That's as it looks today. So, working our way back has been a struggle, but it's been worth it. And, Dolby wanted to come on board, and we renovated the whole thing. We did all rewiring with Westlake Audio, Westlake Pro in Burbank. We ripped every piece of wire out and redid the whole thing, and put in this incredible immersive audio, spatial audio Atmos system, which is extraordinary. And so having them involved has really taken us to the next level. Our first project on board was with the RZA and Wu-Tang Clan. We went on tour with them last fall with the brand new studio, and RZA mixed in Atmos his classical composition, which was just released, called The Ballet Through Mud. It's amazing. You should all check it out. He recorded it with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, but it was mixed on board the Lennon bus while we were on tour with Wu-Tang, who was recording some other music with us at the same time. And one of our incredible engineers from Europe, Lennon Bus Europe, Pietro Rossi, did those first Atmos mixes. So that's a little bit about the Dolby experience. And they're now getting involved to do the same renovation over in Europe. So we're going to bring Lennon Bus Europe back in April 2025.
Now we're going to take a look at your trailer.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a 45-foot. Oh. Nice.
I don't know what that is. Well, it was Tosh. Was that you? Oh, your earbuds are dead or something like that. Try it now. Earbuds are dead. Hey, why we're doing that? So, Ivor, talk about this. Not a lot of people know about this. Talk about you going with the Beatles to meet Elvis Presley.
Well, I'll keep it short. John Lennon wanted to meet Elvis. Elvis, he used to listen to Elvis on a transistor radio when he was much younger, and so did the Beatles want to meet Elvis, but Elvis was tied up doing 4 movies a year that first year in '64. And the Beatles were racing all over the country, didn't know which city they were in. 35 days in about 24 cities. I mean, they get to Canada and they wonder where they were, and they only knew they were in Canada because the press would say after 30 seconds, "What do you think of the Canadian women?" And we know we got some Canadian women on the screen here. Anyway, so it was just a crazy ride, and it just. Back at the Beatle International Convention 3 weeks ago, there were people unified by their love of the Beatles, a big family from Brazil, from India, from Australia, everywhere. I mean, it was a fun fest. I always say some of you may know there's a Yiddish word called mishpocha, which means family. And when you're there with the Beatles in Liverpool and everybody comes for the same reason, it's like a family reunion. So I'll let somebody else speak now because I keep going on too long.
Not at all.
One of the wonderful things about Beatles music is that it's just so relatable and it's so unifying. And music in its just basic form, like everybody loves it. And what I wanted to know from Brian Rothschild is you have this wonderful tool to be able to bring music education to children. And I saw a lot of children that were on the trailer about this. Can you talk about what it's like to see kids be able to kind of light up in this and understand things and experience this incredible thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a joy, the joy of my life, honestly, and it's a great way to spend one's life. You know what? It's really that word that I just mentioned, and that is it's really about joy, right? So there are hard times, whatever year you're in. Ivor was talking about the '60s. We're talking about 2024. Life is hard. Life is tough, and it's tough for most people in the world. And music brings everybody together. Music spreads joy and potential and brings opportunity. And it heals, like all of those things. And that's what happens with the bus. When kids come on, they may be from different backgrounds. We do these original songs. A big part of what we do is bring students on board. And in the course of a single day, they will write an original song, the lyrics, the music, shoot video. Every asset for a complete music video is collected in that single day. And again, they may or may not know each other. They may have skills that are mad, crazy, amazing, talented artists, and that frequently happens. But they also come on and have never heard themselves on a mic or touched a guitar or hit a drum. Those very early first experiences are life-changing. It's not just talk. It really is true. I'm sure everybody that's here or listening or watching now can look back at a particular moment where, the switch went off or something changed. And that's the idea of the Lennon bus. And it's meant to, in John's spirit and Yoko's spirit, it's meant to inspire. It's meant to change the world. And that's what it does, all on its own. It does that. It's an amazing studio. It's one of the best recording studios on wheels you'll ever see. I think it's the best. But beyond that, it has some extra magic to it. And kids and everyone who comes on feels that. There is a special spirit and vibe that lives on the Lennon bus.
Hey, Tosh, do we have your your earpiece is working, Tosh?
I took them off, so I hope. There we go.
All right, tell them who you are, followed by Terry.
Yes, so my name is Natasha Rumbos, or as Brian calls me, vocally Tosh. And I'm a Venezuelan singer. I live in Miami, and I do Urbano Latino music. Music has always been a passion of mine since I was young. I was in chorus, in musical theater, and I kind of found my voice throughout the way. And it was more to like singing and entertaining audiences. And now back in 2020, I decided to really go full force into my music and like really focus and write my own original, because I was doing a lot of covers and I was finding myself as an artist. And now 4 years later, I've been able to do a lot of things that I've never thought that I would get to do, like so early on in my career. Like I was able to fly to Vegas to sing during the Latin Grammy Music Week. I sang in Times Square for Wonderama. So it's really inspiring that like once you're like super focused and like super passionate about what you're doing, like eventually you will get to where you want to be. And now I'm here and I love creating. Like I just, Brian, hearing you talk about like your recording studio and like the experience that these kids must have, like being in there, like I felt like I was like imagining myself, and I was like, I remember that feeling of like when I started like getting into music and playing the guitar, and it was like, wow, like I can do this, like I love this is exciting. So yeah, that's me. I love music, so that's I've always dedicated to that, and got about 6 singles out. They're all Spanish. It's very urban Latin, like lots of energy, because I am a very energetic person and I like to resemble that onto my music. So it's very happy, fun music. And apart from singing, I bartend. That's what I actually like, bartending, but I've been trying to get away from that because I mean that does pay for my bills and stuff, but I really want to make a career out of my music. So I've been focusing a lot on social media and branding and trying to continue get my brand and my name out there and keep on creating music. And that's me in a nutshell.
I love it, Natasha. That's amazing. I was a bartender too.
Ah, there we go. Okay, so I've been bartending for 5 years, and those 5 years, I mean, that's kind of the same time I started doing music. So it has allowed me to, hone in a little bit more, have more time. But, now everything, is money, money, money. And the restaurant business has like been declining a lot the past few years. So, we've been trying to figure out other ways to be able to continue funding my music and continue, full throttle in the career.
Terry?
Oh, see,
you're on mute.
Me and Terry are like on the same thing, audio.
Ah. Terry, I think you have audio problems. Come in, come back out. Hey, Ivor, talk about this while Terry's coming back. Talk about your award-winning book. It is that 60th anniversary. Talk about that. What's that like? 60 years
Well, I'm
later.
going to tell you one story that I love, and I think Howard will appreciate it more because you'll see the punchline. in doing my new book, I met, we've done podcasts. I met a very nice guy on a podcast who said, I'm coming to LA. Let's have dinner. He called me up and he said, meet me at the Sandcastle restaurant in Malibu for dinner. So we show up at the Sandcastle restaurant in Malibu, and I go in and he introduces me to the maitre d', the guy with the Beatles. And the maitre d' says to me, pity you weren't in here last night. So I said, why? He said, Paul and Nancy came in for dinner. I said, really? He said, yes, they've just bought a new place. And he said it was a mobile home in Malibu costing $5.5 million. And everything costs more in Malibu. So I think, well, that's amazing. And then I sit down and have dinner, and a young waitress, I think her name was Bree, and she's about 26. And I say to her, were you in last night? Were you here last night? She said, yes. She said, I served Mr. McCartney and his wife. And I said, did you know who they were? She says, I did not. I said, well, then what did you think of him? And she said the line that just knocks me dead. She said, he was a nice old English gentleman with a white beard. Wow, that's Paul McCartney, $1.5 billion. A nice old English gentleman with a white beard. And end the story. I mean, you can't make that up.
Well, Howard, you can follow that. Tell them who you are, what you do, what room you're in, and what you're wearing.
So you want me to?
I'm Howard Wiggins. I'm one of the world's 35 leading.
I feel bad. I mean, I'm doing all the talking. I haven't heard from Howard. I haven't heard from. Anyway, so I just can't. Go ahead.
Howard. Howard's going to talk now, Ivor. You just hold on. Go ahead, Howard.
Okay. I'm Howard Wiggins. I'm one of the world's 35 leading interior designers. My father was Little Roy Wiggins, who played steel guitar with Eddie Arnold, and also Lori Morgan later on. Brian mentioned Dolly Parton. When I was 17 and Dolly was 24, I kissed her in the dressing room. And she also told me, she said, when she lost weight and got a divorce, I'd be next. And I told my wife, I said, I won't cheat on you unless Dolly calls, and I'm out of here.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it, because I know how dedicated you are to that, your wife.
Yeah. So
you're
anyway,
a good man, Howard.
I've got a style of interior design called Stacked and Layer. Anybody who goes to my Facebook page will see pictures of my house all over the place. I'm in the entryway right now. I'm very eclectic. I like anything and everything that's beautiful, period. And let's see. I'm doing some movies. I'm doing Without Warning, Who's Going to Take Care of Me in the Future. I'm the book in Diana Firefly. I play the voice of a rabbit called Over the Hill and Through the Woods. And just, living life and creating new experience. And I've had more fun since I've retired than the rest of my life. I'm like Dolly. I want the end of my life to be the best chapter. So that's what I'm working on.
Rachel?
Hi. Hello. So my name is Rachel Roberts, and I have a little morning coffee talk show, and I do host some podcasts around, and sometimes work with Fox News, which is fun. And I've been asked to be on a TV show that's coming up pretty soon in Florida. It's like a comedy and stunts and food, which is me, right? And somehow they're gonna tie sexy into it, so I like it. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Wait, are you shooting in Miami?
I don't think it's Miami, but I'll let you know. It's somewhere in Florida. Yeah, I know. We gotta hook up, right?
I know. I would be like, that's amazing.
Yes.
And you say little morning show.
Thank
Your
you.
morning show is not a little morning show. That's banging. That's
coffee talk.
Yeah.
Terry,
I love it.
Natasha, thank you.
Oh, Jeremy, by the way, okay, everybody who's here, Jeremy has a book out. Okay, and I've gotten to the middle of it. I haven't finished it yet, but I just gotta say, it is such an amazing book to look into. Like, Jeremy, growing up and become, there we go, there is more. And you see, I did this on purpose. I knew that was going to happen, Jeremy. This is I'm helping you out.
I want a signed copy, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. Like, you just learn so much about, like, there's just so much more. Just how the title is. It's insane how you tie everything up, Jeremy. I'm really, really enjoying your book.
And Tosh, you tied it in because we were going to him next if we didn't have any sound from Terry.
Yeah.
Right on the spot. So Brian
Love
and
it, yeah.
Ivor, this is why I like Tosh. She's like timely. Even when she comes in last minute, she still times it right on the mark. All right, Jeremy, you got to talk about your book. And if Terry, we don't have your volume, we're going to Ivor to talk about his book. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yes, I do have a book out called There Is More, Living a Life of Expansiveness in a World That Is Not Perfect. And I grew up and still have ADHD, and it's been, quite a life of being able to kind of overcome those kinds of challenges when you have, incredible gifts in certain areas and a lot of struggles in traditional areas. Like it's difficult for kids with ADHD to go through school. And later in my life, I had an experience that changed my life with psychedelics, and it led me to become an expert in psychedelics. And so this book is about my life and the various different ways that I went right and ways that I went wrong. And now what I do is I help people who are struggling with their own focus and their own drive and their own path forward. And I'm really passionate about doing that, because when you finally figure out how much value you actually have, it is just, life is so much more rich and so much more valuable when you go, I can do it. So that's what I help people do. And I think we hear sound from Terry.
Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Love you, Jeremy. You're so fabulous.
Right on time, Terry.
Perfect, Terry. Go ahead. Go for it.
Oh, I had to reboot my phone. I don't know, because I'm doing it on my phone today. But anyway, you can hear me. Anyway, my name's Terry Marie. I'm in Southern California. I've been working with Brian for over 10 years doing red carpet events, fitness competitions, a dabble in some art. I did do an event on Thursday for the Emmys. It was awesome. It was the Harvest Emmy gifting suite. I got some amazing beauty products. I got some amazing wines. I got invited to go to a private tasting in Napa. Also, the Olympia is coming up, so Brian and I are going to cover that. There was a healing spa that's in Vegas that I'm going to go, and I'm going to shoot some videos of their services out there. So I made a lot of really good contacts. And I also want to announce that I've been accepted to the TikTok shop. So I'm going to be promoting brands on TikTok, and I started my first video last night. So go look for Nonstop Terry Marie in TikTok shop. I'm so excited about this because I've already gotten like 5 products sent to me, and I've got to start making videos for it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Terry, that's so exciting. I'm doing the same thing, but for Amazon.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm going to learn from TikTok first, and then I'll move over to the Amazon shop. But it's really exciting because I didn't realize that the TikTok shop is like the new Amazon. It's really crazy. Yeah. So I think I got in on a good time. I'm going to start trying to do some of the live shows there. My life is I had some family stuff going because I'm dealing with an elderly mom with dementia, which has been very challenging. But it was kind of interesting because at the gifting suite, there's other women there that do motivational speaking that I was talking to that I might be partnering with, which I think I sent Brian their cards. But yeah, the Emmy suite was more, Heather, who did the suite, it was more towards like women's products and powerful women. There was a company called Damsel in Distress where I actually got pepper spray and a stun gun. So that was a fun product. But yeah, I think, Brian, didn't we have any video of that to show?
We'll see what we have.
Okay.
We'll see what we have. Hey, Brian, talk about this. Did you, if I remember correctly, did you say the Lennon bus will do something for the autistic, people who are blind or deaf? Was I thinking about that correctly also in the future?
I mean, we have done that in the past. We've worked with kids with all different kinds of challenges. We've done a lot of work at hospitals. In fact, When we launched Lennon Bus Europe, we brought the bus to in Liverpool, Ivor. We brought the bus to the what is it called now? Alder Hey Children's Hospital.
Yeah, oh, fantastic! What was the reaction there?
Oh no, it was amazing. We went there with Yoko, and we spent a couple of days, and it was really extraordinary. So yes, I should also mention there's a crew of 3 who live on board each Lennon bus, right? So there are 3 bunks on each bus, and they live there throughout the year. And they're very unique, special people. And when we were at that particular hospital, we had 2 crew members who were very senior, who were working with the students there, who were, working through challenges and physical issues, surgeries. And if they couldn't come on the bus, we would go into their rooms and work with them there. So yeah, there's been a lot of different populations that have been influenced by the bus over the years.
Can I just ask you a question and tell you something, Brian? About a year ago, I was in a restaurant and a very good-looking young man in his 20s served me, and he said, "I know you." And I said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "I was in the group from West Ventura who did the video on the John Lennon bus." He said, "I'm now a musician, and I'm also working part-time as a waiter." So, I mean, the impact is so phenomenal. I can't believe it. So sorry to keep adding that, but I'm so delighted.
No, appreciate it.
Is here. And the other thing is a question that everybody wants to know. I know that the last thing I heard was that Yoko is obviously getting old, having problems, and has sold her place in New York and now lives in the country. Can you tell us about that?
She didn't sell the Dakota apartment. No, but she's been living up in the farm that she and John bought. It's kind of noisy. Anybody else hearing that right now? So yes, she's I think enjoying her life on that farm out in the country, and Sean stays super close to her. He's an amazing son.
Hey Terry, mute your sound. I think it's that coming from you. I was going to ask you this, Brian. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite Beatles song? Mine, for example. Well, mine. I always tell people, mine is "Hey Jude," the live version on David Frost. The first time everybody came up on stage. I play it almost every day because it means a lot to me. I think about the lyrics. Do you have one?
I really don't. People ask me that all the time. I mean, I was a little kid when the Beatles hit. So I always have a, soft spot for, the super early stuff, "Twist and Shout" and "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Like, those are seminal experiences, just as a boy. I mean, to me, it's been something that's been evolving, as I get older. There's always something new that I'm hearing. As new mixes are coming out, I'm kind of fascinated by new things. I mean, on the John Lennon side, I'm a big fan of watching Wheels, and not just because we have a facility that's got wheels underneath it, but I really like that song. On the John Lennon side, I really like "Mother." I met just sort of anecdotally, when we started the Lennon Bus, there were plenty of kids who weren't listening to the Beatles, and there are still plenty of kids that aren't listening to the Beatles today, but there are a lot more kids that are listening to the Beatles, and there are a lot more kids who know John's discography. And I'm surprised. Kids from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life feel the authenticness of their music and of their words. And, driving around with John's, that image on the bus, obviously, is John's self-portrait that he did in '68, that was on the Imagine album. they are moved by the music and by the words. So no, I don't have a favorite Beatles song. I don't think that that's something that I'll ever have. Like it seems to change as I change.
I'd like to just add to that, Brian. Sorry, I'm so loud and obnoxious. But anyway, I love Mother. My favorite is Working Class Hero. And
Sure.
and as you probably know, Brian, I forget the year, in the early 70s, Yoko and John came to LA to do Primal Therapy with Art Janoff. And what you do is you go along, and they went along for several weeks, and you are reborn again. I mean, I can't go into it in great detail now, but if you look it up, Art Janoff, Primal Therapy. So as soon as John and Yoko came out of that, they did the album with Mother, a very personal, painful song, Working Class Hero, some of the greatest. I mean, they were inspired by this therapy. I mean, I looked at it closely. It wasn't quite my cup of tea, but, everybody does a cup of tea.
Yeah.
For John. Anyway, so now the answer is, and you mentioned Mother, and I suddenly rang that bell. Oh, my God. Didn't he do it? He did it straight after Primal Therapy. He got it out of his system. And Working Class Hero is another great song, one of my favorites. Anyway, let somebody else talk.
Hey, we got a couple minutes left.
Jeremy.
Hey, Howard, do you have a favorite Beatles song?
Well, actually, I couldn't help but think of Imagine the whole time I've been watching this, because that's what the bus is all about. So, yeah, Imagine. Imagine all the people coming all together. Yeah.
Rachel?
Do You Have a Secret? Is that one of them?
That's a great song.
Yeah.
Hey, Tasha, do you have one?
Definitely the Here Comes the Sun.
I like it that you're singing it. That's awesome. Make us look bad.
Terry, you have one? You're on mute.
She's on mute. She can't talk.
Okay, the walrus. I am the walrus.
Jeremy?
You're the peacock.
The song Something is something that I've always been partial to. I just find it to be so simple and brilliant. And I have one more question for Brian. Aside from the Beatles, what other rock band is the most influential and prolific rock band of the 20th century, and why is it Rush?
I cannot support you in that, but I would love to hear. I would love to hear your thinking that way. Tell me, I'm much more into Earth, Wind, and Fire than Rush.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Well, that's also coming from a guy who turned down Blue Man Group, right?
I still can't believe you did that.
Great decisions.
Yeah, but look where you are now. I understand why you did it. As Ivor was saying, you're in the right places at the right time. You're on the right track, Jerry. I couldn't be more happier for you. Hey, we got a couple minutes left. Hey, so I got to talk about the 55th anniversary of the Nashville Film Festival. The only time it seems like we could all get together is when we're in Nashville, Brian and Ivor, which is interesting. So we have the films called The Streak. Bill Murray owned this team. And in 1987, they have the longest winning streak over any Major League Baseball team that is playing at the Nashville Film Festival. They won, I think it was 27 games in a row, and they're in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's a really, really good one. I don't know what this is, but, going back to, what was the other movie? King of Kings. Rebel saw this about the Zulu Nation, the first Mardi Gras, and how they do the Zulu parade. And I thought that was really, really interesting. That's really good. And then we got another one called One More. Devo will have opening night at the Nashville Film Festival, which is really good. That will be really, really good. Howard, I can't go because I'm busy with stuff. And then we have the King of Kings coming in Chicago, Illinois. That's the first film on, as we know now, called Chicago Lottery. It was called The Policy Kings there. They called it The Numbers. First African-American who had multi-million dollars before the mafia got it. Based on a true story, Debbie Allen, Quincy Jones are the producers on that. So that'll be good. Brian, last words for you. Social media links, and also how can people find out more information on the bus and where you're heading next?
Sure. Yeah. Go to lennonbus.org and you can find out where we're going to be. You can learn more about the bus there. And you can find us on the socials at Lennon Bus. So we're going to also be at the Audio Engineering Society show here in New York, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. Is that right? Yeah, 8th, 9th, and 10th. We'll be there for John Lennon's birthday on October 9th. And then we're heading to Louisiana for about 5 weeks, going to all of the historically Black colleges and universities in Louisiana.
Jeremy, your book. Where can people buy your book? Social media links.
People can buy my book on Amazon. There is more. Living a life of expansiveness in a world that is not perfect. And if you're struggling with ADHD and you're super smart and very motivated and trying to get clarity, mindfulmutiny.com. I'd love to work with you. And I'm so happy that Ivor and Brian were here this evening. What a wonderful conversation.
Terry Marie, social media links.
Nonstop Terry Marie on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Howard Wiggins.
Howard Wiggins Facebook, and I also have a book that's out in September. It's not my book, it's Patricia Hart Macmillan. It's Designers' Homes Across America, and this is the third Christmas book I've been featured in. So,
Chef Rachel Roberts.
Rachel Roberts Recipes. Jeremy, it's like, I know why you found me. It's like, ADD, smart. Like, yeah. Jeremy and I are doing some fun things together. Jeremy, thank you for finding me. And we found each other.
Vocally Tosh.
Yeah, Vocally Tosh on all social media platforms. I do have a new song that's out. It's called Nos Vemos Otra Vez. We see each other again. It came out last week, so I invite you guys to listen to it. It's available on all social media platforms, and you can find it on my Instagram, YouTube. Just search Vocally Tosh.
And Ivor, tell us one last story. Pick one off the top of your head, your book, and social media links so people can reach out to you.
Okay, my story is when we were traveling with John and the Beatles in '64, almost every night, and they were in the next room suite. Every night, almost, John would call us up, me and Art Schreiber and a few people, and say, come in, 3 o'clock in the morning. We are playing Monopoly. And I'm going to reveal this. John was a terrible cheat in Monopoly. He got the dice and he rolled it 2 or 3 times until he landed on the property he wanted. So from that point of view, that just knocked my socks off. But John was so incredible. You know, he liked to needle you. He got his kicks out of making up. He called me Ivan the Terrible. But John I loved because he was so provocative, funny. The best sense of humor of all, and the Beatles all had great senses of humor. So that's a mishmash.
Incredible.
Well, hey, we made it last. No major problems or anything like that, which is never easy on these shows. And Brian, anytime you want to come on, you're always welcome because it's always about promoting the bus. It's very, very important, especially the UK version, because that'll be fun to see. I'd like to go visit that one too. And then, so Ivor, thank you for what you're doing, because you know what? You are history. All the things you've done, every place that you've been. I'm glad that we were at junkets and we were just sitting there, we're just talking. He never talked about what he did.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you. You've got to tell some of the stories. I mean, Robin Williams was like John Lennon. Robin Williams is a genius. We've been in interviews, Brian and I, with Robin Williams. I mean, he just killed us. We rolled on the floor. He's so funny. He was. Anyway.
Yeah, you know, and the bad thing is that, you know, unfortunately, the good times. Anyhow, I have to say this, Brian, thank you for coming on. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I love that bus. I'm so honored that, you know, that I got a chance to meet you, and just to be on that bus is great. Oh, I got a question. Can I get Vocally Tosh to record on that bus?
Yes, I want to bring it to Miami. So when we're down there, we have to connect.
Yes.
We've been there many times. It's been a while, but I want to get back to Miami soon.
And the last thing, when we go back to Knoxville, we're going to make sure that we get you to Dollywood and with Dolly. I'm working on
I
it.
mean,
Brian.
that's a dream. That is a dream. I want to bring the Lennon bus to Dollywood. She is one of my all-time, favorites. I idolize her songwriting.
Jeremy, that's funny. You do. I bet you do have a rap album in you someplace.
I know I've got a rap album in me somewhere. So.
All right. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. And as I always say, thank you. Have a good night tonight. A better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.